Yes,
What
sir.
made you want to start? We'll just start right now. Hey, I got the Unstoppable
Yeah.
podcast, Unstoppable Entrepreneur podcast. I got Big Tex here. This is Evan Price. He's got the gallon hat. I don't know what kind of gallon is that. 40 gallon. What is that?
I don't know. It's a 7.5. This one.
I don't even know what the gallons mean. But he's got a big old head and a big old hat. I've actually put his hat on before. Real estate investor, podcaster, did a $6 million deal just recently selling ranches. How cool is that to sell
Yes,
a
sir.
ranch, bro? I got so much questions to ask you about that. Welcome, man. You definitely seem like you're an unstoppable entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, man. Anything you want to say about yourself I didn't cover?
Yeah, I don't. No, I mean, I'm recently into entrepreneurship. So recently being last 3 years. Before that, I was working at a utility company. Um, some stuff went down. I didn't like at the company. Decided to leave and start my own business. So I mean, $6 million. We sold that $6 million ranch. It's finalizing. The last sale is actually happening this January. But to go from making 100,000, 120,000 a year to making, two, 300,000, the next year will turn over 1 million. I mean, it's just crazy where, life has came where I was and where I'm going. So
Man, I'm interviewing the right people, dude. I just interviewed another guy. He made $1 million this second year, second, third year. Bro, I'm still chasing $1 million a year. I haven't made $1 million in a year, not a millionaire net worth, and you
well,
guys are coming out the gate strong, man.
I'll tell you what, it's a whole lot harder when you have a lot of responsibilities. You know what I mean? Like now I'm getting married this March.
To that
Uh
girl,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
missus I met,
Yeah, yep.
uh, she's
You met
awesome, man.
Monica. So we're getting
Monica,
we're getting married in March, gonna start planning on having
congrats.
kids. So I mean, no plans yet. Nobody's pregnant yet, but that's kind of our plan. And looking forward, I'm like, man, I need to save. I gotta like put stuff over here. I gotta put stuff over there. When I started this business, I had, no bills. I mean, I think I had prior to getting into business, I never had any bills in the oil field. Like I had no monthly payments of anything. So when I transitioned to here, I bought a truck, and that was the only payment I had. And so
And where are you
I'm
at?
Texas. I'm in San Antonio right now.
You're in San Antonio. Okay.
Yep. We're north of San Antonio. Right now I'm on my ranch actually. So I still have about 28 acres out here of the 200 that we bought. So the rest have sold and this one's closing in January. But it came with a house, so I live in it. Obviously, as you can see, it hasn't been updated. Still got the plywood
Wood
on the
panel,
walls or
baby.
the,
Let's
the
go.
paneling on the walls. The floor is dirty. There's a stain right underneath those things over there. So, but I'm out
All
here right
good.
now and we're in Spring Branch, Texas.
Dude, awesome, man. I want to talk more about that ranch, dude, later down the line. But man, you said you just became an entrepreneur. And what's the most amount of money you made? Was this $1 million or
Yeah,
six
so
million dollars?
everything with the ranch, we did a seller finance deal on the ranch. The sellers financed 90% of the deal, and we came come up with 10% down. It's actually a cool story how we didn't put any money down, but we could talk about that later. Um, but anyways, how it works is he gets paid first on everything. Now we can take like a marketing fee, we can take a little bit to cover our cost, but he gets paid first. So for the last 2 years, but we've been kind of stuck around 200,000 covering our cost. But at the end, that's when I make all my money. So this last closing, we actually paid him out fully on the seller finance note. I was able to take the remaining 200 plus $1,000 and roll that into my business as my first profit, really. And then this next ranch we closed on is going to be it's a $1.1 million sale. So that's all of our profits locked up there. So the most amount of money, I really make is just really not making a whole lot of money. We're kind of just breaking even. But this last one will actually turn the wheels, and that's what will make the most amount of money.
Okay. And hey, we might as well get into it real quick. So you're talking about seller financing and putting up 10%. So how did that deal work? Like what is seller financing?
Yeah.
What money, what's the money thing and the splits and all that? Like what's that about?
Yeah. So, I mean, seller financing is just, using the current owner to finance it rather than just going to a bank um, or a different lender. So the guy, if they already know they have value, right? They already have the value in the land. They've been keeping the land for the last 50 years. What's another couple of years going to matter if they keep it, right? So if I would default, he just has his land. There is no, there's the collateral is the land. So instead of in a seller finance deal like this, he says, okay, I'll let you take the land and do what you want with it for an exchange of value, but I'll hold on to that land until you sell it. And that's basically how this deal worked. So we did a balloon loan, which isn't just a standard seller finance, like a standard seller finance, like a kind of it usually works like a bank, right? You do a note for 30 years, you make a payment every month to pay it off. With a balloon loan, you don't make payments. You say at the end of um, this cycle or this term, I'm going to give you one bulk check. So we did that with the ranch. Every time we would sell a lot, he would get a bulk check for that sale, which was over his price he sold it for because he also had first right of proceeds. So the first, I mean, it was a 222 acre ranch. The first roughly about 180 acres he got paid on first, and we get to collect on that back 60 acres. Does that make
So
sense? Or
okay,
you
so we got two we got okay, so we got a plot of land. We got
yeah.
220 acres. And how much like is it worth? Or how much did you go under contract for and how much is
We
it
went
worth?
under contract. Originally, we had figured it out about 15,000 an acre, and that was a number he came up by himself with. He had said, there's a ranch north of here that sold for $15,000 an acre to a developer, and I want that price.
Okay.
And then he had about $1 million in improvements on the land with buildings and structures. We later came to an agreement that he wanted to keep some of those improvements and some of the land, so we took out the $1 million and then dropped the 15,000 down to the acreage size.
What improvements are we talking about? How
So
do
he
you
has a
improve
shooting
land?
range. He has a shooting range,
Oh,
multi-million dollar shooting range. Is for skeet shooting, where you shoot like clays out of the air with
yeah.
shotguns.
I know that.
So
I do. Yeah, I do that. I shoot
yeah,
trap.
yeah. So he had that going, and then he had his house back there and some stuff. So he wanted to keep his house was the biggest thing. When we got close to, I guess, to really back it up, why he made, that decision came about is when I first came to him, I said, "Hey, John, give me an option to buy your entire ranch. I'll pay you 15,000 or $1,500 a month, and I'll have the option for the next 9 months to buy your ranch." Right. And he's like, farmers understand options because they trade in commodities a lot. And he said, okay, well, so basically at my price point, $15,000 an acre, $1 million in improvements, you're going to pay me $1,500 for the right to buy it at originally it was like 5.2 million. And I was
5.2
like, yep.
million is 15 bucks an acre for 220 acres,
Two
minus what where he
originally it
wanted to
was
live.
yeah, originally it was 292 acres is what the original contract was for, plus all the improvements.
But he wanted to keep some of his. I
Yep.
want to keep 10 acres for myself or something like that, right?
Yeah. Once he realized that I was going to close on the ranch and I had a path forward, he was like, "Oh shit, I'm not just collecting an option fee anymore. I'm selling my ranch." So
Yeah.
at that point, he kind of got sad and um I
What?
walked into his office. I walked into his shooting range one day and he's crying and like not crying, but his tears rolling down his face. And I said, "What's wrong?" I thought somebody died. And I said, "What's wrong, John?" He's like, "I just realized you're actually going to buy my ranch."
Oh, did he not really want to sell it, or
He,
he?
I think he thought he was going to collect a $1,500 option fee because his price was so astronomical. What in his mind, what he thought it was, and I was looking at subdividing it from the beginning, so I knew that the more you subdivide, the more it becomes worth more. The more
Oh,
the more affordable it becomes.
oh, and subdivides means like, hey, we got this big land. Let's put it in blocks for
Exactly.
people to what develop on, for people to like build houses on, for like what?
Yeah.
Why is it more valuable if you divide it up?
Well, I mean, just think of how many people have $5 million, right?
Not a lot of people.
Not a lot of people, and they don't have, and who needs 292 acres? Not a lot of people.
Just me.
Yeah, just just some
Just
farmers out there.
people like us.
Yeah. But if you cut it down into 11-acre tracts, well, who needs 11 acres? Oh, I could build on 11 acres, right? Well, how much money do you have? Oh, I can spend up to 400,000. Well, 400,000 and 11 acres, I mean that's 40,000, you know, or I mean a little bit under $40,000 an acre. So you go from 15 to 40,000 an acre. I mean we never
And you
sold
could
40.
sell it for that?
Close. We I think our top was
Ooh,
36,000 an acre.
ooh, wee. I see the
But
money
there,
start rolling
yeah.
now.
So it comes from affordability when you start breaking up land. It's like who can afford it and how big is the buying pool? So when we broke it up and started selling off lots, now we sold a couple lots that were bigger. We sold the 44 acre. We only got about $24,000 an acre on that one, just because it's a lot of land and it's a $1.1 million price tag. Not a lot of people, there's not a big buyer pool for that, and it's a lot of land, but they wanted it. They knew they could get it for a good deal, so they came in, offered about 24,000 an acre. We're still making money. We're still doing all right. So, that's what happened there. And our biggest tract we sold was 60 acres. And the smallest was 11. So it just kind of works out there. I think our average when we got done with it was right around, I think it was 26,000 an acre was the average price per sale, but we had up to 36 and as low as 24.
Ooh, okay. So I think I got this business model, maybe in a nutshell. So, hey, Mr. Seller, hey, you got 200, 300 acres. How much you want for it? I want 15 an acre. You go do your math. You're like, bro, we could probably sell these for 40 an acre, 35, 40 an acre. Let's do the deal. And let's
Yeah.
see if we can, so start something dividing it up so we can start breaking it off. And the guy's like, sure. And you're like, all right. I think we got the deal. We got the property for 15 an acre. We got a
Yeah.
buyer for 25. We want 35.
Yeah. Well, and
Well, I'll
so it
take
makes sense.
25 right now, right? For a bigger chunk.
Yeah, and it's like, well, who would sell for 15 an acre when it's 40? Well, the farm rate, the ranch rate for that acreage is probably 9,000, 10,000 an acre. So him selling in
What does
bulk
that
for,
mean?
well,
What
it's
is
how much are
farm rate?
farmers and ranchers willing to pay, right? For their business model. Their business model is raising cattle, raising livestock, raising crops. What they can make off the land, probably won't even support 9 to 10, but that's kind of the going rate right now is $9 to $10,000 for this area. Well, so the max he can sell to another person like him is 9 to 10,000. So when he comes
Oh, so
over
he
and
was getting
says,
15. He's like, oh, I'm getting more than what I know I should be getting. You ain't
exactly.
selling this land. Who are you going to sell this land to? We paid 9 to 10.
Yep.
I want 15 and I'll do it. And you're like, but you know that you got somebody that'll pay 25, 35.
Yeah. I don't know the person. I don't know the person. I got to market it, but I know that I can list it on MLS, take it down seller financing, actually close on the property, then turn around, start subdividing and make, lots that people want and then sell it for, more. So the huge thing here is, it sounds super simple. It's a little bit more complicated than that because you have to go through engineering and you have to know what you're subdividing out. You got to bring utilities, you got to give everybody road access. So roads are super important. The county requires you to give 60 feet of road access to each lot. So a lot of lots only have maybe 150 foot of road for access to 100 acres. Well, that ain't gonna work. You can only break that up 2 times. Right now, you got 50 acres and 50 acres. Your price will increase, but it's not going to increase so much that it might be profitable. Where this property had 3,200 feet of road frontage, and it still wasn't quite enough. Like I would rather have like up to a mile. So that's a big
Okay.
thing. So you gotta look for road frontage. I mean, there's a lot of different things you need to look for, but you don't want to be in a flood zone, good road frontage. You want to be close to town. You want the access road coming in to be paved. I mean, they will buy on gravel, but it has to be close to a paved road. There's a lot of different scenarios that make that land worth more or less. Um, I mean, literally,
Yeah.
land is not like houses. A lot of times when you look at a comp on a house, like this house beside this house, they're the
Yeah.
same, they're built in the same year or right around the same year, and they're the same square footage. This one's
Yep.
going for 200. This one's gonna go for 200, right?
Yep. That's how I do it. I flip houses and I look at what's my neighbor sell for? What this
Yeah.
sell for? Okay, I'm right about there. You can't do that with land?
You can't do that with land because there's so many attributes. So if you have 100 acres right beside 100 acres, this one might can be completely flooded, right? Like it has a creek rolling through it or something, and it's blocking build paths. It's, maybe 80% of the acres is under a flood zone. And this side, there's no flood zone because it's on top of a hill, right? So it makes this one far more valuable with no flood
Yeah.
zone than this one. And this one might
Yeah.
also have a ton of road frontage where this one doesn't. So there's all
Hmm.
these attributes. People, I, 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 I hate it when people are like, "Oh, land's just dirt." It's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Shut up. Like, just because you got lucky in a land deal one time, like you have no idea. So there's a lot of attributes that you just kind of. I mean, I knew them because I grew up on a farm. All right, I knew what to look for, and then you did utility development for 8 years, so I knew what we were developing. You start seeing patterns.
You grew up on a farm, so you had some insight. So, like, would you say, so would you say this is difficult? It's difficult it's hard, but it's very lucrative. It's not, or I
Yeah,
say it's not always easy,
I don't know if I'd call
but
it
if you
hard.
figure it out,
Yeah, it's kind of like,
there's,
do you have the knowledge or not? I mean, if it's kind of like flipping. If you grew up, working for your dad and he was a contractor and all you did was paint houses and, build stairs and replace siding, you're gonna look at a flip house and be like, well, this is simple.
yep.
Like, I've been doing this since I was a young kid. But if I look at a house, I'm like, I'm terrified of that thing. I don't know what is going to happen. Like, like obviously, I bought this house. I haven't done a damn thing because I'm terrified to look behind these walls and see what's behind here, right? Like, I just don't have any knowledge in it. So I don't know if I would say it's hard. It's just, what's your knowledge set in? That's what I always try to tell people when they're like, "Hey, I want to flip land." And I'm like, "Okay, it's lucrative, but what kind of knowledge do you have in it?" And they're like, "Well, it's just dirt, ain't it?" And I'm like, "Get lost, buddy. This ain't for you." Like, you know,
So, dude, so have you ever been broke before?
I have been broke.
What
I
was that
have.
like?
Well, so a couple different times I've been broke early on in life, you know. Um, getting raised on the farm, it's not like we had a ton of money. We did all right for ourselves. But farmers are typically broke most of the time. They're kind of like real estate investors. They're always investing back into their business, so they're always broke.
Oh,
So growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had enough to survive. And then when I left the farm, getting into college, spent money foolishly, got a credit card debt, was broke as, any college student would be.
yeah.
But later, the biggest one that really, the most recent time I've been broke was when I started my business. So getting out of the oil field and utility industry, I had a pretty good nest egg. I probably had 150,000 or so saved up, and then some assets like a boat and trailer stuff was paid off. When I started the business, I was getting pulled in every direction. Oh, you should buy leads over here. You should use this CRM. Send out 70,000 text messages. Like, there's all these things that they're always telling you to do. Here's a new fishing hook to catch the fish, right? Buy this, it'll catch the fish. So pretty quickly, and then through some bad investments I took, I was pretty broke, and I was so broke that I had $10,000 in bills every month to keep this real estate alive with all the stuff that I was being told to do, or people, not a certain entity telling me what to do, but things I thought I had to pay for. $10,000 in bills, whether it's investment property or monthly stuff, and had $100 in my bank account.
Ooh,
So
man.
towards the end of it, before we closed on the ranch, I was $80,000 in debt and $10,000 of bills a month coming in. I did that for 10
Goodness.
months straight
You were
without
stressed
knowing.
out.
Oh God, I never experienced anxiety ever in my life until then. I thought anxiety was a myth. I thought it was like some mental disorder people had, right? Like, I never had any issues with it before then, but during that 10 months, I mean, I was broke for 10 months, not knowing how to pay for the next the next meal, let alone where to how I was gonna make $10,000 a month to keep it going. But surely, you close a deal, a wholesale deal, you make 10 grand, that goes into funding the next month, and you sell a trailer, sell a boat. Um, pulled through for that month, got a couple of personal loans from people that believed in me that I could do it. And had about 20,000, $25,000 in personal loans and another, $30,000 to a different guy and $40,000 or 30 or whatever it was. I don't remember the numbers, but it was about 80,000 altogether. Credit card debt. And I remember when I was closing on the ranch, like literally we had a couple problems before closing that was gonna might prevent us. But I was believing we were going to do it, and I was like I was right there. It was within reach, and the credit card companies were calling me like, "Hey, when are you going to make a payment?" I'm like, "Just give me
Yeah,
give me 7 days," and they would be
yeah,
like, "All right, call me back in 7 days. Hey, when are you going to make a payment? Hey, we're closing on this ranch." Like literally, the day we close, it takes a while for funding to come through, especially on a big check. We made a $300,000 check on the day we closed, and I was waiting for this. We were already closed, signed all the paperwork, and they were like, "Hey, when are you gonna make a payment?" And I'm like, "Listen, I got $300,000 coming in. Just give me some time, right?" And it worked out. So
did I know you when you were going through this?
yeah, probably. I think we probably met.
Dude, how like crazy is it? Like the entrepreneurs, we're so different, bro. Like you could be struggling and hurting, and I know you because of a coaching program for real estate,
Yep.
and you're flying out, networking with people. I've been there, and you go on
Yep.
these events, and some people are absolutely killing it, and you're hearing all this success, and you're over here hurting, but no one
Yep.
knows it. No
Yeah.
one knows because you ain't gonna tell them.
Yeah.
You're just gonna figure it out, and maybe you
Yeah.
pull one or two people you trust, and you behind and be like, "Yo, I'm jacked up. Can you help me out? This is what I'm going through." Or you hear someone else that's going through something, and there's always something. It's so weird how we operate, man.
I guarantee you, when we first met, I was in that period, that 10-month period, because I remember paying to go out to that coaching program, like, oh man, this is going to be something that helps me find the next deal or something. And I did. Like, actually being out there gave me the possibility to close on the ranch. I raised $700,000 at that coaching event.
Oh, nice.
Never had to use it, but I had soft commitments at 700,000 to close on the ranch. So that gave me the motivation, that gave me the know-how to close, which gave me the confidence to do other creative things.
Dude. Okay, so was that your lowest point as an entrepreneur? Is that it? Or
Oh
what was
yeah.
your lowest point as an
Oh
entrepreneur?
yeah, that was the lowest part from the beginning. I mean, I had made probably $70,000 in my first year of entrepreneurship, but you're just blowing through it so fast. Like you never realize how much it's going to cost to get going.
Cool, man. So what was like, okay, so what was the turning point that it happened for you where you're like, man, I don't want to do this W-2 stuff. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going all in. What kind of like made that happen?
I've always, my father was a great business, or is a great businessman.
Oh, you
Uh,
grew up with an entrepreneur father. Oh, that's cool.
yes. So he wouldn't say he's an entrepreneur, but he is. Um, my grandpa owned a ranch, family ranch. And when my dad was a junior in high school, my grandpa sold the ranch from him. And that's what he always wanted to do. So grandpa's out of the land business, can't inherit anything that you don't have. So, or can't work on a place that you don't have. So my dad went into driving truck, driving semi, hauling loads of cattle around the country. And then saved up money. I thought we were really broke when I was a kid. We were driving a F100 1980 something F100 single cab. It was shit brown in color. Like it was the cheapest cheapest car on the car lot. And we would drive that thing around while what I didn't know is my dad was saving up to buy a ranch. My dad had about, I don't know how much they had and how much money they had, but they had, probably close to $1 million saved up ready to buy something.
Whoa,
And
that's a lot of money to save.
yeah, and I don't know the whole number. I mean, I might be completely off. We were pretty young at the time. I just know that, what kind of the roundabout price what we bought the ranch for. I'm sure he got some loans for it and stuff. But so he built that ranch up today. They farm, over 6,000 acres of farmland and raise 1,500 head of cattle, and they do pretty well for themselves. So getting raised in that, I didn't want to farm. Dad always told us, if you kids want to farm, we'll build the ranch up to a big enough level. You guys can all inherit it, because I didn't get the chance to, right? So,
But
but
you
if you
said
don't
no?
want to, you get no part of it. You get, but what he didn't know what he was doing, he was teaching us how to be an entrepreneur from the very start, right? He showed us how entrepreneurship works. You got to do shit you don't want to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Um, and he always told us that, like, if you want to inherit the ranch, we'll give it to you. Like when we pass away, we'll build this up to a level we need to. But if you don't want to, you're walking away from it because I'm not giving you something you don't earn, right?
Do you like
So,
that lesson as a father? Is it not give people stuff? Because I'm thinking about that like for myself, like my kids. If I build up millions of dollars worth of stuff and
mhm.
they ain't helping me, I think it could be like a bad thing to be like, I'm just gonna give this to you, just be lazy, just chill.
I
Or do you like, I don't want you to struggle through life, so it's yours when I die. Like, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I think, not to get not disclose too much, but like, I mean, I'll probably get some sort of inheritance, right? Like some cash form of inheritance, but it won't be the business. It won't be the land. I won't have any access to it.
Okay, so you denied it. You're like, I don't want the ranch. I'm gonna go my own way.
Yeah, yeah. So the big thing that changed in me when I decided, I mean, I went to college, decided I was gonna go do something else, and then kind of always had in the back of my head, Dad approached me. My brother was taking over part of the ranch, and he said, "Hey," he approached me and my sister. He said, "Hey, I know you guys are doing your own thing right now. I just need to know if you're going to continue doing your own thing or if you want part of this ranch. And if you want part of this ranch, come back and start working it." Right. And he was trying to
Ooh.
see where we're at. And I had been thinking about it prior to then. And I said, "You know what, Dad? Thank you for everything you've taught me how to do. But I'm gonna forge my own path."
Okay.
And he's like, "Well, if you do that, you don't get any inheritance. You don't get any part of the ranch. You know that." And I said, "I understand." And he's like, "All right, you know, whatever. If you need something, let me know." So, um, that's what I've been forging my own path. But that knowing that I gave it away, however many millions of dollars and land and everything given away, gave me inspiration to go build it for myself. Right. So I knew that if I'm walking away from $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, whatever that value is when my dad and mom pass away, if I'm gonna walk away from that, then I need to build myself up to be more than that. So that's always been my driving force is there is no choice because that is the most stupid decision to walk away from that, based on just not having to work there. Right. That's all I would have had to do. So if you're gonna walk away from that, you have to turn your life into something that's better than that. And
Man,
that's working on.
can I be honest with you, bro? Bro to bro?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm walking away from that business, man. I don't know if it was like, dude, I got all the respect to you for the world for being like, I want to go my own path. And this is something,
Mhm.
dude. This is good because I grew up without a father.
Mm,
I long for like to be in your situation. Dude, if my dad was alive, he had businesses, I would have, oh my gosh. So part of me is just like, that part of me is like, all I wanted to growing up was my father, a masculine figure, and we do something and we take over the world. I ain't gonna lie. It's part of me that like doing my own thing too. To
hmm.
walk away from a family business, like you, Yellowstone, bro. That's what I think about.
Yeah.
You walked away from Yellowstone.
I'm Casey.
You're Casey.
Yeah, I'm
You got
Casey.
your little hot wife over in the trailer.
Yep. Yep.
Doing what? Let's build
Yep.
this ranch up. Let's build up this ranch and make it the best ranch in Texas. Could have been your path. You have no regrets whatsoever? None. You don't think
No,
about like in an alternate universe, I could be
I don't have any regrets on it.
all right.
maybe I will one day, if everything goes south, maybe I will one day. The big thing is, the other thing I did that, I'm starting to think about now is, I took not only took that away from myself, I took that away from my family,
Family, kids, and legacy.
right?
And you still don't
So
regret it.
I don't regret it because I think I'm on to bigger things. I think I'll grow past what I would have been able to grow there,
What's the big
So,
difference, though? What's the big difference? Ranch, cattle, like I don't. What are the business differences like?
well, right now I'm buying land, subdividing land, pretty easy, laid back. Like I'm pretty free most of the time. Like I think every month me and my fiance have taken a vacation for at least 5, 6 days each month. Ranching, you can't do that. Farming, I mean, they farm and ranch, so it's two separate businesses, really. I mean, they're on under one roof. They call it one thing, but ranching is taking care of cattle, farming is taking care of crops. So they're connected in a lot of different ways, but it's two different things. So summertime you're farming, you gotta plant, and then you gotta spray multiple times. And then every crop, there's multiple crops that you rotate out through the fields. So you plant, start in May, you start planting. Beginning of June, you finish planting. Then you start spraying, different
Pesticide,
types of crops. What's that?
bugs, pesticide spray.
Yeah, pesticides or just killing weeds and that sort of thing.
Okay, so
So
that's
you're,
what you meant by spray. You talking to a dude who don't know nothing about farms, but I'm
yeah,
so
yeah, sorry.
intrigued.
Yeah,
I'm
so
so
you're
intrigued
like,
by it.
I mean, basically you have this dirt field and you plant some corn in it, and in between the corn, weeds start growing,
Yep.
right? The more the weeds grow, the less water the corn has, less nutrients the corn has to grow.
Oh,
You
this
got
is
to
so
kill
pure.
everything else other than the corn to keep the corn growing. And if you don't, the weeds will take over the corn. You won't have a
Yeah.
crop.
Wow.
So you got, you know,
It's a Bible story about that.
yeah, you got $250,000 in seeds you got to keep, to grow into hopefully a crop that makes money, right? So, anyways, you got planting, you got spraying, and then as soon as you get done with spraying, you got to do a alfalfa harvest, make some alfalfa hay bales, the first cutting, and then you go back and you spray some more, and then you got second cutting. You got irrigation to, do irrigation on those crops. And then before you know it, you got a harvest season coming up. You got wheat to harvest. And after you get done harvesting wheat, you got corn to harvest, and you got soybeans to harvest, and you got canola to harvest, and whatever other
Wow.
crops you're growing, they're all in rotation, right? So you kind of build it from start date May, we're going to finish in November, and you got stuff to do in that entire time. I mean, you'll have little breaks. You can go to the lake maybe one of the weekends in a month or two of the weekends in a month. We got a little bit of break time, but it's one day. Plus, it's all a lot of people just don't realize how much work it is because you got these combines that are, $250,000, $500,000, $750,000 piece of equipment that they only run for maybe a month out of the year, but they have belts and bearings that need to be looked at every year. So you don't start a combine fire and you got to replace stuff. Well, I don't know if you ever try to work on a $500,000 piece of equipment before, but there's a lot of shit to check, right? Like there's a lot of moving parts. So that takes a
Mm.
month in the shop. You got to fit that someplace in, and then you got to fix, the planter and keeping the tractors serviced. Like there's a bunch of stuff that goes into it. I think people think farming is just planting and harvest. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, no, you're going to have a solid 9 months of work, and then ranching on
Oh,
top of that. If you want to raise cattle, well, your cattle out in pasture, you got to check them during the summertime, and then wintertime, they can't stay in the green pasture because now it's white, covered in snow. You got to bring them home and feed them every day. Feeding 1,500 head of cattle takes a while.
that sounds like a lot of cattle, bro.
So, so it's just
1,500.
like I was talking to my parents the other day. And I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing for Christmas?" And they said, "Well, your brother is going to go over to Wisconsin to see the in-laws." And I said, "Well, why don't you guys come down to Texas?" And they're like, "Well, we can't." And I was like, "Why not?" And they're like, "Because Cole's going to be gone. My brother's going to be gone. Who's going to feed the cattle?" And I'm like, "Ah, shit, I forgot about that." Like they have to be there to feed the cattle.
So if you don't
Oh,
feed that cattle for like, you can't take like a week off and leave some stuff
oh,
out.
no, no,
They'll
no.
be
They feed
dead.
Well, they feed them every day, every morning they feed them. So they mix up a mixture of corn, haylage, silage. They put it into a big truck. It mixes it everything together, kind of like a big blender, and they go along a line feeder and they feed them.
Now, can you
So
outsource any of that? Hey, we're going to go on vacation. Some field hands going to come and do this. Is that a thing or not?
you can. I mean, it's just at a cost thing. I mean, farming is a low profit business. I mean, you're maybe
Oh,
making 3-4% profit on the farm every year, so you
three
hire.
to 4%.
I mean, some years are better than
What?
others. Some years you're losing 20, some years you're making 20, but the average you're going to be right around break even, right? So it just comes down to the fact, yeah, you can hire somebody. A lot of farmers do. Like they've hired some international people this last year to come in and help them, but I
You're
mean,
making
it's yeah,
the farming business sound like it's not lucrative, man. If that's the
it
case, it sounds like
it's
a lot of
not.
work,
It's
manual
not.
work, and it's not lucrative. So no
It's not.
wonder you walked away from. It's
Yeah.
not like this business enterprise that you're just like. This is a better business. Wholesale. We'll talk about wholesale for a second after this, but you're running a wholesale land business.
Yeah. Well,
Not a lot of time commitment.
yeah, I'm not even running wholesale anymore. I mean, I'm taking it down, right? I would say maybe
Hotel,
wholesale. Yeah.
hotel.
I'm doing a lot of development too, so I'm almost closer to a developer than a wholesaler at this point.
You built now. Okay,
Yep.
you're dividing and you're improving the land and
Yep.
just real quick for people who are watching. So I'm a real estate investor. Evan's a real estate investor, but we do something called wholesale real estate. Well, Evan's done it before. It's like one of my main businesses is what wholesale it is negotiating a really good price on a piece of property, a piece of real estate. And you get it, hopefully it's like a asset that needs improvement so you can get a really good deal. And then we sell it right away with not even we get under contract and we don't even close on it ourselves. We go find a buyer who would love it, and they pay us a lot of money. I ain't gonna lie. The reason why I think wholesale is the best business that I've found, well, one of the best businesses I've found, because you can make a whole lot of money in a short amount of time without a lot, with just knowing how to negotiate in sales. That's sort of the skill sets coming in, finding deals, having sales skills to know how to negotiate that and selling it off. And you can be broke. You can be broke going bankrupt and do a 40K deal like that
Yeah.
and be back on top. That's why I like the wholesale game. And if you can get that consistent, it's a really lucrative business.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but if you're new and you want to get into wholesale, it's a way to flip houses and flip stuff without owning it, without putting your money in on it. Um, and then later on, you can become like what Evan graduates to like. He's developing now. I was a wholesaler, and then I got some money. Then I started flipping the houses and making the real money because the real money is when you flip. Not to say wholesale ain't real money because it is. It is. But you find your way. Wholesale's like usually the start of people. That was a long-winded. And
Well,
I got a free
well,
community if you want to learn how to wholesale. I'll put the link in the bio.
there you go. There you go. I'm a that community.
Come on in, buddy.
Now and the crazy thing is that, I made a jump, right, from wholesaling trade and development, and anybody can do it. You have
Anybody.
to, anybody.
No
It's,
college, no
yep.
no barrier entry.
Yeah, you got to
What's
have,
you need?
I would say you have to have some skills in whatever you're doing, right? So if you're some sort of contractor, you have knowledge fixing up houses, right? That's good way you want to start flipping. Well, you can start in wholesaling, start making some money there. But every once in a while, you come across a deal that just doesn't quite make sense to wholesale it, or maybe there's a lot of profit there. You can talk to the seller, be like, hey, what if we did something where I would go in and fix up your house? I'll pay you a little bit more money. Right now I think it's worth about 70,000. What if I paid you 80,000? Right? And instead, I'll pay you in 6 months that $80,000, but I'm gonna fix up the house for you. So you go in, you do the work, and now instead of making maybe a $20,000 wholesale fee, you can make a $50,000 flip fee. But the seller is taking the risk with you, right? They're saying, I believe in you. Based on what you told me, I believe in you. and I'll take that risk with you because you're giving me $10,000 more than you can give me right now. Um, that might be called a novation, depending on who you talk to.
Yep. Yep. That's what we
Um,
call it.
yep. With bigger deals, you got to have, some sort of skill. So when I first came out and talked to John out here on the land, the guy that I bought this ranch from, you know, when we were first driving around on the ranch, there was a cow limping, right? He was limping along, kind of had a limp to him. And I said, "Is that cow, have you treated that cow for a limp?" And John looked over, watched it for a little while, and goes, "I didn't even notice it had a limp till you said something." And I said, "Do you need help? Getting a shot? I'll stay out here and help you guys get it into a pen or something." He goes, "No, I'll just come out here with a dart gun and give it some medicine through a dart gun." And I was like, "All right." But from that point on, he knew that I knew about ranching, right? He knew
Mm.
that I knew about land. I was the same as him. I started building trust from the very day I met him. Um, so when I went to say, "Hey, I think we could develop this into ranchettes," I have a utility experience, and he got to know me over the first 9 months that we were under option contract. When I told him, "Hey, would you be interested in making more money than our contract on this?" And then giving me the opportunity to cut this up into smaller ranchettes and sell them. Would that sound good to you? He said, "Yeah, just give me 10% down and I think we can do that." And that's how I closed on a $3.7 million ranch and eventually sold it for 6.1 million because he understood he was taking a risk with me, but he had confidence that I would be able to do it based on all of his previous experience with me.
That's gold, brother. That's gold.
The
I,
funny part is we were sitting after we closed in April of 2023. And then after we were sitting there for a while, we were having a beer on his back porch. He turns to me and he goes, "So how many times have you done this?" And I was like,
yeah.
"What do you?" And
How
he's
many
like,
deals have you done? Yeah.
yeah, how many times have you bought a ranch like mine and then subdivided it?" And I kind of easy telling him, and we were months after closing, but I still didn't want to tell him this
My
was the
first
first.
time.
And I and I said, "Well, this is my first one." And him and his wife, Mary and his wife goes, "No, no, you're lying. Stop, stop." And I was like, "No, no, this is the first one. Like, you guys are the first people on this scale. I bought smaller stuff in the past and flipped it, but not this scale." And they were like, "You have so much knowledge, though. How do you how do you know all this stuff if you've never done it before?"
I grew up on the farm.
And I'm like, "Well, I grew up with it. I have a skill in it, right?"
Yeah.
And I watched YouTube for 1,000 hours, right?
Teaching you.
Yeah. I watched Pace Morby talk about creative financing deals. I watched, you know, um, land developers talk about how to clear land. I watched all these people. So I kind of knew what it was going to take. Learning and doing it is a whole different thing, but I had the knowledge set, and I'm willing to work at it.
Mm. Good stuff, man. I want to be respectful of your time. I got one last thing to talk to you about, and
Yeah.
it's you told me you were a man of faith, you're a believer, you're a Christian,
Yes,
and
sir.
so how do you, how are you okay with making this money, want to be a millionaire? Because there's a conception out there that I'm trying to like attack, and I think it's from the evil one. I think it's from the devil that Christians can't be rich, Christians shouldn't be trying to get wealth. What do you say to people that are like, "Oh man, the Bible says the root of all evil, money is the root of all evil. It'd be easier for a man to fit a camel. It'd be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven." What do you say to stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say that the only reason that I do well, the only reason that I am wealthy is because I live by a principle that the first 10% is God's. So,
Okay.
so I mean, and I've always experienced that. I haven't always been a Christian. I didn't become a Christian until probably in college when I actually became a Christian. I was raised, I guess I was raised around Christian type beliefs, but never really understood the deep meaning of it. Never talked about it at home, but one time somebody said, give 10% of what you have and you'll receive it back tenfold.
Yes, I got told the same thing, bro. I was like, let's tithe. I can't wait to tithe. I'm like, I want to test this thing out. Let's see what's up. If I tithe 10%, I want
Yep.
to get 10x back.
Yep.
Why wouldn't I try that at least once?
But it's harder to do than if coming from not doing it to doing it. I mean, you can make $1,000, a month, whatever I was making in college, and I was gonna give $100 away. I was like, I know. I mean, I got bills to pay, places,
No,
I don't by the time I get done with it, I mean, I have $200. You want me to give half that away? How about 10% of that $200? How about I just give 20?
negotiate.
Yeah. Don't work like
Negotiate with
that.
God,
It's
huh?
10%. Yeah, it's 10% off the top. So, um, I one of the first things I was like maybe we had $150 to my name. I was at this Christian event and they were talking about it, and I said, "All right, here's $100." And I put in the bucket, got back home from this event. A couple days later, I get a call from this random call, and they're like, "Hey, are you Evan Price?" Yeah.
No
Well, we have a
way.
check. We have a check for you for $1,000.
No way.
And I'm like, "Who is this?" And they're like, "Well, you worked here for a while. You remember working at so and so nursery in Bismarck? I worked there for a week, never collected a check, forgot all about it." Right?
Awesome.
They called me that next day. "Hey, come collect your check. You have $1,000 check
Yep.
over here." And I'm like, "What the heck?" So I was like, "Well, that was a coincidence, right?" Did it again, got
Time again.
tenfold.
Yeah.
Did it again, did it again, did it again. Well, heck, there's a pattern to this. Every time I give, I get in return, right? So the hardest time to do it is when you don't have enough, but there's a little bit of faith. You have to have faith to do it, right? So now we close on a ranch, and, the church or charitable fund gets a $10,000 check, we close on a lot. Well, guess what happens? The next one sells. Right? And it's like, nobody's going to buy this 40 acre. Like I thought for a long time that nobody wanted this 40 acre. And it didn't sell for a while. We're getting kind of low on funds because all we're doing is getting cost return when we close on a ranch right now. And I said, all right, well, 10% off top. Church, here's, $4,000 on that last 40 I made. Boom, 44 acres contracted. Right? It's like what is it's even more than 10 folding now. It's like 40x folding. It's 100 folding. So I believe on the wealthy, to answer your question, to weave this back in, like Trump says, to weave this all back in. Um, if you're committed to sharing your wealth, which comes from God in the first place,
There you go.
if you're willing to share it back with God, He
Yes.
wants you to be abundant. He wants you to have abundance. He knows, hey, how can I help this person solve this problem they're having that's financially based, or maybe it's not even financially based. It doesn't always have to be financially, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to
Hey,
say.
I need this person to this person's praying for this. Who can help me? Right? Hey, Evan, so and so needs your $50. Can you give him $50? Oh man, that guy over there, he's like looks like he's really hurting. Maybe I should give him $50. Maybe I should buy him a meal, right? He's been praying for that all day. And now
Mm,
he's got a prayer received from somebody he had no idea. And through me, God shows his glory, right? So God wants you to be abundant, right? And I really believe, wealth was built on attraction. So the more people that see you doing it, they're like, okay, hold on, what are you doing? And well, come, let me show you what I do on ranches. And then, why, well, you go to church every Sunday? I never seen you be the kind of guy to go to church every Sunday. You know, I'm gonna start doing that. And you bring
yep.
another person into the kingdom of heaven because you're attracting them with wealth.
That's the bro. That's awesome. That is the main thing behind doing this podcast. Someone sees it. The wealth might attract them, but some people we're gonna get. You go to heaven now, boy. You're gonna get involved into the. Jesus is gonna get you. He's gonna get a hold of you.
Yeah.
I might plant the seed. You might water it. Someone else, but man, what a great way to make money You're making it, you're doing it for God, you're doing it with God. And I got this saying here, make God. So but the first one says, make God a 10% owner of your business, right? Then I heard
Mhm.
someone else say, make God the CEO of your business. And I was like, ooh, man.
And I'll tell you what too. One thing that I've also do is I don't give 10% to the church, right? I give 5% to the church, and then we take that other 5% and we use it to give to people that need help, right?
Why,
So
bro? Give it to him. Why? Because you want, is it because you want to directly see
I
the
think,
involvement and connect
yeah,
with the people themselves, right? Was
that
that why?
that and I think a little bit I don't trust, I trust my church, but I don't trust everything they do. So it's a little bit taking back a little control of it, you know. And then also, I mean, there's so much need worldwide. Everybody's as you're if you're a businessman, everybody's asking for money. When they know that you have money, everybody's asking you. Not that don't message me. I ain't gonna give you money because you're asking for it. But but you see needs come up. You know, you see people starving in Africa. You see, my one of my good buddies just went over to Africa to build a water well. You know,
Awesome.
you see these needs and you want to help, and keeping that 5% allows you to continually giving, to good charitable needs. So,
That's so good, dude. I think about that all the time. I think about like, hey man, find the church because we get the word out and stuff. But what if I could impact something myself? Or if I see
yeah,
some people out there where I want to talk to these people. I want to see their faces light up when they got, hey, we didn't have Christmas gifts.
yeah,
Now we got Christmas gifts. We didn't have turkey. We didn't have to dinner. We didn't have any of this stuff. Now we got it. Sir, thank you so much. And we go, you're welcome, but God told me to do it. What? Yeah, like this is what we do. And yeah, man, just being direct. There's a part of that that makes you feel like really good, like going over and building wells. Some people can't do that. Maybe that's your thing to go over there and build wells. Maybe some people it's to evangelize. Maybe it's some people it is, hey, I want to give them all the money to church and I trust them to do the right thing with it. Or maybe you're like us, where it's like, hey, I want to be involved doing X, Y, Z. We all got our thing, man. That's what I like about it, man. We all got our assignment. And bro,
yeah.
awesome, man. Thanks for being on, man. This is you're definitely an unstoppable entrepreneur, man. Anything
Thanks for
else you
having
want to
me.
say?
No, thanks for having me. Right now I'm doing some live streams on Instagram. So, come over to Instagram in the mornings, at Evan Big Price. I've been doing kind of random time. There's no set time, but if you come over in the morning, I've been doing live streams, just talking about what's going on in the world, what I'm doing, where I'm headed, just different topics. And come on over, hop in, say hi.
To
So,
Evan Price on Instagram, right?
Evan Big Price.
Evan Big Price. Oh, one more thing, man. You got another minute?
Yep.
I noticed that you had a way to network with important people, influencers who've done some big stuff. I think I kind of struggle making those connections and stuff. Man, you talking about I walk in the office to talking about our buddy Ryan, and you got some gift you're giving him, and you guys are buddy buddy. You're doing podcasts with Pace, you're doing podcasts with Jamil, Jerry Norton. These are the leaders of our industry that you're on a first name basis versus people who just kind of like sit back and don't take any of that action, man. What's your secret to networking that you can share with me to help introverts, help people who don't like to fanboy, they don't want to seem awkward. How
Yep.
can you help us out?
Man, I was talking about this on a podcast the other day. I try to be unique. So the first thing I do is wear a cowboy hat. That puts me in a different class of people. I would say that gangsters and cowboys are kind of the most feared people in the United States. So if you walk around with a cowboy hat, you're just as feared as a gangster. So, I wear a cowboy hat just to kind of assert my dominance in a room and in real estate. There's only one guy in the room wearing a cowboy hat. That's me. So I stand out that way. With introducing myself to people, I try to always take a different route. Everybody wants to impress, get the gift or whatever they're going to get from that person on day one.
Yeah.
I try not to ask for anything. I try not to even act like they're important. I
Mm.
try to treat them like they're just another human being in the room. So one of the things I first did with Ryan, when I was first in his office, there was two lines, one to meet Ryan after he got done talking and one to get lunch. Well, I got in the one that got to meet Ryan, and I started walking forward. And when I got to me, Ryan goes, "Big price. What's going on?" And I looked around kind of confused. I said, "Is this not the lunch line?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I thought I was in the lunch line. I mean, I love to meet you, Ryan, but I'm hungry." And he's like, "Shut up!" But the thing is, nobody hears that, right? When you're at Ryan's event, he's expecting you to say, "Hey, I really love what you do. Hey,
Yeah.
you inspired me. Hey, all
Yep.
this stuff."
Yeah.
Whatever he hears on the repetitive, you're just another guy. When you that first impression, right? You're just another guy. But if you can be like, "Bro, is this not the lunch line?" Like he's gonna be like, "Who is this guy? What is he all about?" Right? So I try to use that to my advantage a little bit. Um, and then just give, give, give. The
How do you give
longer
to someone like that's already seemed like they got everything? What could you give?
I'll just, I mean, with Ryan, Ryan Pineda, what I did was I got upgraded to a penthouse suite randomly at one of the times I was staying. Went up to his room. He was having a party in a penthouse suite. It's super packed. And I was like, "Hey, Ryan, I got a penthouse, was gifted it from the hotel. What if we take half the party down here and make this room less hot? Take it down to my room." He was like, "Do it." Right. I'm just always looking for ways to give. Um, hey Ryan, if you need help evaluating a land deal, let me know. Happy to take a look at something for you. Um, also you can just share. People love hearing a success without asking for anything in return. Jerry Norton, every time I see him, I go up to him and shake his hand and say, "Hey, thank you for making real estate videos on YouTube. You really taught me a lot." And he's like, "Great, great. You have a question?" "Nope, just wanted to tell you thank you." Like I'm not asking for anything. I'm not even asking for his knowledge because it's all available on YouTube, right? So I just thank you, right? And then I did that enough to where he's like, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast or something? Like you're always coming up to me. I always notice you, right? Yeah, I'd love to do a podcast." You know, he was
Oh,
the
so
guy that
he
came up
asked
with it.
you
He asked me to
to
do a
be on a
podcast,
podcast. Now, there's
right?
probably some banter. You're not over there being
Yeah,
awkward. You're not being
yeah.
weird. You're probably being funny. You're
Actually,
probably being yourself
I
too, right?
I was really weird with Jerry before we did a podcast. The last time I was going through some stuff at the ranch. We had closed some big deals at the ranch, and I was starting to feel like life was working right. And I seen Jerry, and I was like, I was planning to just go up to him like I always do. "Hey Jerry, thanks for making your videos." I went up to him. I was like, "Hey Jerry." I started like tearing up. And he's like, "What's happening right now?" He's looking at me, 6'5" tall cowboy. Jerry, I don't know what Jerry is, 5'8". He's looking at me and he's like, "What's happening?" And I was like, I just like started like bawling, like not bawling, but like tearing up and crying in front of him. I was like, "I'm sorry, this is awkward. I don't know what's happening right now." And he's like, "No, no, tell me about it. What's going on?" I was like, thank you so much. Like, you have no idea how much you impacted my life. Like, I have closed on this big ranch. We just made $300,000 the other day, and it was because of you, Jerry. Like you taught
Yeah,
me how to write a contract,
yeah,
right? Just watching. You don't know who I am. I understand I'm this big weird guy crying in front of you, but thank you so much, right? And at that point, he was like, "Dude," he's like, "We need to do a podcast or something. I want to hear more about this." Well, then it didn't happen. I had to ask for it again later on. 6 months later, I asked for that podcast, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Will you just reach
So
out right on Instagram like that or what?
yeah, just credibility helps, so I done the thing with Pace, have seen Pace kind of the same thing multiple times. Didn't cry in front of Pace, but um seen Pace multiple times. Pace said yes. That allowed me to get Jamil on because, hey, doing podcasts with Pace even before it happened. You want to be on, Jamil? Yeah, if Pace is gonna do it. I'll do it. Then talk hitting Jerry Norton up. "Hey, just did a podcast with Jamil and Pace. Would you want to do one?" "Oh yeah, yeah. If they're doing it, I'll do it." right? If they know
Yep.
something I don't know, so you build credibility, and then you can use that credibility. All you need is the first one, right?
Oh, you do a little bit of name dropping. Yo, this dude was on. I want to grab you too. They're like, yeah, okay. So almost kind of FOMO. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, if they don't know anything about you, but they're really good friends. I mean, all three of those guys are really good friends, right? You always see them posting pictures and stuff together. So if they
Yep.
respect that person, hey, if Pace is going to be on your podcast, he knows something that I don't know about you. Yeah, it'd probably be a good opportunity to talk to you. Maybe we can do business or something.
Dude, that's gold. So I had the exact same thing that you felt for Jerry Norton when you got
Uh-huh.
teary-eyed. I did the same. I felt like I embarrassed myself like a complete idiot in front of Brandon Turner. We were up in the penthouse and he's up there. And this is
Hmm.
like my guy. Like he's like Mount Rushmore. He got me started, changed my life. And I'm in line. My buddy's in front of me. You probably know Jeff Boyd.
Yeah,
Jeff Boyd, Jeff Boyd's just like, "What's up, man?" Blah 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 blah. And I'm over
I
here
love
like,
Jeff.
what am I gonna say to Brandon Turner to not be weird and awkward? And I'm just sitting there like enamored and he looks over at me and he kind of looks at me like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Dude, you changed my life, man. I can't thank you so much." And I was like, just like you, almost like he probably had glossy eyed, but I felt like it was like this weird thing. There's like, yeah, man, I'd do it again. And I really didn't know what to say. He's like, hey, man, I'm like, can I get a picture?
Yeah,
Total fanboy, man. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm the worst ever. He's like,
People,
yeah, let's take it over here. This is what made me feel bad. He's like, let's take it over here by the door because I'm getting out of here as soon as we're done. So I was like, oh man, I creeped him out and weirded him out to where now he wants to leave.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. But well, people love hearing that though, because like say, I mean, me, you sitting here talking, hopefully you push this out, hopefully somebody watches it, 10, 15 people get inspiration out of it. That's all we want, right?
yep,
Like if it blows up, great. But if it doesn't, that's all we want. We just want to change one or two lives. And then that one person comes up to you 10 years down the road or 5 years from now and says, dude, that podcast you did with Big Price, thank you for doing that. Changed my life. You'd be like, dude, I thought that was a complete failure. Three people watched that video. Well, that's how it is for me when I do podcasts, right? But like that's the thing, people. You want that to happen, right? So I think even the big guys that have 200, half a million people watching, they don't get to hear that every so often. They don't get to really feel it like, yeah, thank you for watching me, thank you for subscribing, but they don't really get that really good feeling every once in a while. And I think people need that.
yeah.
So
Why do you think your podcast you feel like your podcast, I'm sorry, it cut out. A failure?
I would say, I mean, my podcast isn't the biggest thing right now, and I'm growing. Maybe we have 20 to 50 watches on each one. Really good watch time. People that are
That's
watching,
a
they're
lot.
watching all the way through. We're putting out shorts right now, which has helped driving traffic. Um, my whole thing though is like if I can just help one person, like just one other person that's like, hey, learn something, um, do a deal, reach out for help, like on something. I don't want nothing from you. Like JV deal's cool. I don't need it. Like if I can help you, ask me a question, right? Like see how I can help. Um, really like I would just like to help one person get a big deal done or get a small deal done, something that changes their life, changes their direction. So
Dude. Keep
it's not about 500,000 views for me.
yeah, dude, keep doing it, man. I realize after doing these podcasts, man, I really want to make a living doing this,
Yeah.
dude. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
I get to get closer with people who I may not that I want to get close with. And dude, so keep if I can give you an encouragement, keep going. I'm
Okay.
doing this. I'll probably get one view, two views.
We'll push some traffic over there.
Dude, three. I'm 2, 3 years out. Who am I be interviewing in 3 years?
Yep.
What would the sponsorships be like? I'll be in my own. I'm in my house right now. I want to
Yeah.
be in a studio. Like, Price, come on up, man, and making
Yeah.
money, having fun, talking to my boys, getting knowledge, bro.
Yep.
Transferring knowledge from each other. Come on, man. What
Yep.
an easier what a life to be making money doing some podcasting. Come on,
Yeah.
bro.
That's what I mean.
Crazy.
This equipment behind me, you wouldn't believe how much money I spend on all this. So I only do in-person podcasts like on my own podcast. So I'm
Oh, that's the
sitting
setup.
down with a guest. I'm not, virtual doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had $20,000 in equipment right there.
That's 20 grand.
Yep. Plus all the travel it takes. I mean, I've easily spent 50 grand on podcasts this year. Like
Dude, I hope to get there
expensive.
soon. I
Yep.
want to get there soon. I want to do in persons too.
Yep. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. We'll sit down. We'll be in Vegas soon. I was in Vegas
Yes,
last time.
sir.
I couldn't get you on. So we'll have
I'm
to do it soon.
every time I gotta leave Vegas, someone wants to do something, bro. It's like the
Yeah.
curse. I'm here every day. I gotta
Yeah.
leave. People are like, "Hey, I'm in town." I'm like,
I had Insta Chava. I had Insta Chava on when I was out there last time. And he had the exact same thing. He's like, "Hey, can we rebook to this morning? I gotta leave this afternoon." And I was like, "Yes, sir." So he rebooked. He came over. We did a little short, got like 100,000 views on it. I was like, "God dang, what's happening?" Insta Chava, like
100,000
that boy's blowing up. And I
instant
remember
travel,
Insta Chava. You know
instant
him.
Shava.
Yeah, you know him.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, okay. Let me
You met
have
him.
to look him up.
He's been around Ryan's circle for a long time, and it was funny because always known him as just taking pictures with. He's the guy that wears the backpack with the Instagram stuff on the back.
I'll probably know exactly who it is. I just
Yeah,
can't match it up right now.
but
Well, dude, thanks for coming on, man. I know I ended it before, and then we went another 10 minutes, man. Tell your accountant I said I'm sorry, but it was
you're good.
awesome interviewing you, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you.